The most active team of the 2021 offseason was arguably the Chicago Bulls, with them signing the likes of Demar Derozan, Lonzo Ball, and Alex Caruso, and them drafting Ayo Dosunmu. However, despite pairing these pieces with Zach Lavine and Nikola Vucevic, many were skeptical about the team's defense since several members of that core never had great defensive reputations in the league. People were also skeptical of the team's offensive fit since Demar Derozan was primarily a mid-range specialist, and since incorporating Vucevic in this whole thing would be somewhat of a challenge. But 36 games in, the Bulls not only sit atop the Eastern Conference, but have proven why they are legitimate contenders come playoff time. In this video, we'll look at why the Bulls should be taken seriously and what obstacles stand in their way of them making the NBA Finals or even winning it. But before we begin, be sure to leave a like on the video, as each like only takes a second of your time but makes a massive difference. And if you end up enjoying the video, then feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As legend would have it, the biggest jump that the Bulls have taken from last season is in their offense, with them jumping from mediocre to elite. Last year, Zach Lavine had to create a bulk of the offense due to a lack of great playmakers surrounding him, and despite Zach having an ultra-efficient season, the team lacked multiple offensive threats that could draw attention away from him. The team tried to remedy this by trading for Nikola Vucevic at the trade deadline, but Vuce and Zach only played 15 games together last season. But fast forward to this season, and the Bulls have a dynamic offense due to their off-season acquisitions. Lonzo is obviously shown to be the great playmaker that the Bulls have lacked at the point guard position, while also hitting a high volume of threes at a high clip. Vucevic, though having a down season, adds to the versatility of this offense since he is an inside-out threat. And when you combine the attention that he gets with solid playmaking out of the post or at the perimeter, life gets easier for his teammates on the floor. And last but not least, the wing tandem of Zach Lavine and Demar Derozan has been one of the best duos in the entire league. Zach is practically replicating what he did last season, putting up an efficient 26-5-4 on very efficient splits, and Demar is simply playing out of his mind this season. Even for someone who was mindful of the improvement that he showed in San Antonio in different aspects of his game, I never expected him to be in the conversation for an all-star starter this season. He's shooting an astonishing 47% from mid-range, and that ticks up to 50% in the fourth quarter. Among qualified players, he's averaged the second most points in the fourth quarter and has delivered time and time again in clutch situations. It also helps that Derozan is actually shooting a career high from 3 this season at 36%, which isn't spectacular, but is a vast improvement for someone considered to have zero impact beyond the arc. Now, as for the Bulls' defense, they've managed to stay in the top half of the league despite the personnel concerns people had before the season. A lot of this has to do with how well Lonzo and Caruso have been at guarding the perimeter, but it also has to do with Vucevic actually being a plus defender this season. Moreover, the last two reasons as to why the Bulls are legitimate contenders are because they are a resilient team and because they play well against a better Eastern Conference. They don't fold against adversity. They're 17-7 against the Eastern Conference, and they're 2-0 against the Brooklyn Nets. There are other guys on this Bulls roster that I could highlight, but I think that it's best that we highlight the factors that could work against the Bulls come playoff time. The first one, as you could have predicted, is a lack of experience. Zach Lavine and Lonzo Ball have never played in the playoffs, Vucevic has never made it past the first round, and the only guys that have deep playoff experience here are DeMar, who has been to the Eastern Conference Finals once, and Alex Caruso, who won a championship 2 years ago. However, the obvious rebuttal to this would be that the cores of the Atlanta Hawks and Phoenix Suns last season were kind of in the same boat. Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton had never made the playoffs prior to last year, but ended up making the NBA Finals. And while you could suggest that injury played a factor in that, the Hawks' path to the Eastern Conference Finals wasn't really shaped by injuries. Another thing that people might hold against the Bulls is their record against the elite teams in the Eastern Conference. As mentioned before, the Bulls are actually 2-0 against the Nets, having won 1 game in Chicago and 1 game in Brooklyn. However, they're 0-2 against the 76ers despite Tobias Harris playing in neither of those games, and they're 0-2 against the Miami Heat. Granted, in the second matchup against the Miami Heat, Now their team was at full strength, as Demar Derozan and Kobe White were absent for the Bulls, and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo were absent for the Heat. Funny enough, the Bulls actually haven't met the Bucks a single time this season, despite them literally being in the same division and slating to meet 4 times this season. But the point is, even though regular season matchups give us a picture of how well a team may do come playoff time, they aren't the end-all be-all for playoff outcomes, as we've seen time and time again. Not every matchup among the league's elites is going to feature fully healthy squads, and that's pretty much an expectation at this point given the prominence of injuries and health and safety protocol. However, the biggest factor working against the Bulls' title hopes so far is the utter flux of the Eastern Conference. If we're being honest, Milwaukee is the team with the least question marks out east, and is the only team that would shock me if they didn't make the conference finals. Brooklyn have struggled against the East elites and are 0-8 against the top 8 teams in the league. Kyrie is only going to play in road games till further notice, and an injury to one of the big 3 could greatly compromise their season. And as for the Hawks and 76ers, I have no freaking clue how both these teams will look past the trade deadline. There's a 0% chance that both of these teams will be staying pat come the trade deadline, and the moves that they'll make are going to be significant. The 76ers are going to deal a player that hasn't played for them this season for an immediate impact player, and the Hawks have a very enticing package that can net them a game changer. And who knows, if the Celtics continue to struggle heading into the deadline, then they could consider shaking things up. Heck, Victor Oladipo could come back for the Heat and be a huge game changer. So much stuff could happen between now and the end of the season, and that could completely flip the balance of power in the East. And to be honest, all the Bulls can really do is worry about themselves and play who's ahead of them. They've won 9 straight games, they're getting healthier after being ravaged with health and safety protocol, and they have the ingredients of a title contending team. And to that, let's have a toast to the Chicago Bulls. With that being said, comment down below how far you realistically think the Bulls can go this season. Do you feel they can make the Eastern Conference Finals? Can they make it all the way to the NBA Finals? Additionally, who do you think is the biggest challenger out east for the Bulls? Speaking of predictions, I made a post in the community tab asking people to reply their bold predictions for the NBA season in 2022. So if you haven't already, comment that down below in this video or in the community tab. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Be sure to leave a like to boost the video in the algorithm and sub for more content like this. See you guys in the next one, and stay tuned.